What up? What up? What up? What is up, everybody? Oh man, two of you guys actually here. Okay, all right, let's get this started. I was sitting here and I'm like, man, I don't know if anybody's going to join. I'm doing this at a odd off time. Um, this is not our normally scheduled program, but appreciate you all for checking in. Y'all on X. Welcome, my X people. Appreciate y'all coming through and showing support. Do me a favor, give this video a heart, maybe comment. I can see your comments. Your comments, I can bring them up on screen. I see them on that platform as well. Let me know where you are and where you're checking in from. I can't hear your voice, but maybe if you can tell me where you're checking in from, like what city or state or whatever, maybe I've been there and we can find a way to connect that way. Appreciate you all for coming through. But listen, we got to talk about Severance. We have to talk about Severance. Yo. I know I was like one of those people that was like dragging my feet, like Severance. I don't know, guys. I don't know if I want to watch this. And now look at me, right? With Deep Dive Live, we got to talk about Severance. For those of you who saw it yesterday, I kind of hinted at it when I went live with the Blurreds and we were talking about Paradise mostly. But Severance is a whole other animal. Like Severance is like, they firing in all cylinders right now. So I definitely want to get in on that. Jen, the teacher, appreciate you. Thank you. You checking in from New York? Hey, what's going on? What part of New York you from? I'm representing Brooklyn today. I'm from the Bronx, but you know what? Here's the real test. Which borough has the best pizza? That's how you tell if you're a real New Yorker, or you one of those New Yorkers that's you kind of moved here. But I'm just messing with you. Appreciate you coming through and showing support, Jen, the teacher. But yeah. Today, I'm about to dive into Severance Season 2, Episode 7. I need you all with me because who needs therapy when you have a dystopian corporate nightmare to unpack with friends, right? Like, we can all do this together. And I'm going to dive right in. I'm really just going to dive right in because this episode had so much stuff to unpack. I think we're going to need every minute to dive right in. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to recap a lot of the stuff that I saw in the episode and point out some of the things that stood out to me and the things that I just thought were kind of humorous. Yes. Okay. Bronx. See, that was the correct answer. Now I know. Yes. Over by Castle Hill where you get that big old slice like the size of your head. Yeah. Right across from PS36. Yeah. Yo, let's go. But yeah, let me go ahead and let me start getting into this episode. What was the layout I was messing with? I think it was this one. So this episode, it kicked off with something that I thought was kind of rare. Daylight, right? Like daylight. Like you don't really see a lot of daylight in this show. It's always usually pretty dark, or they're inside the Lumon offices where there are no windows, or it's just dark and snowy outside. Like these guys never really show us a lot of scenes in the daytime. We see this scene here with Gemma. She's strolling through the college campus where she and Mark first met. They have this first cute meet at a blood drive. It's really charming. But it's also a little ironic because this scene right here is foreshadowing like the emotional hemorrhaging that's going to come in their future. Now, something that I really appreciate in this is that we actually got to see a lot of the adorable chemistry between these two actors. Now, for the most part, we only really relied on our imagination to fuel the fire for Mark and Gemma. But now Severance is finally giving us some footage of these two in their stages of romance outside of the Lumon offices. I mean, this is something that we've never gotten before, because honestly, we've been rooting for Mark and his work wife. Like, that's what we saw. And they just shared vessels last episode. So this is a really interesting time to juxtapose that with the relationship that he actually has with his wife, Gemma. And I know the folks at Severance know exactly what they're doing by giving this episode right after Mark and Helly did the horizontal polka last episode. So that was really, really interesting. And I thought it was very cute to play on that. Now, again, the chemistry between these two is it's thick, it's dense, it's palpable. It's offering this really bittersweet glimpse into into what Mark's lost, right? It's a really stark contrast to his whole work-wife dynamic with Helly. Um, because after that team building exercise between Mark and Helly, this actually feels like it's rooted in actual emotion, like a mature emotion, as opposed to their immature emotion that we've seen with their innies. So yeah, shout out to the folks at Severance for giving us this really Gemma-centric episode. It feels like the writers were seeing that we were starting to get comfortable with the status quo of kind of keeping Gemma at arm's length from Mark. And they were like, oh, y'all out here getting comfortable. Hold my Lumon mug. Like that's how they was feeling on the other side in the Apple writers room. Like they saw that we was getting comfortable and they decided to just disrupt us on an emotional level. So yeah, I love the way that they wrote this and the timing of it as well. Now, just going back a little bit into this, Gemma is donating blood with her and Mark, and they kind of then juxtapose that with Gemma giving blood to her Lumon overlords, and who knows who in the bowels beneath the 35th floor. It's like a twisted loyalty program where the points are in pints. It's like it's wild to see how they begin to do this juxtaposition early in the episode. Now, this is something that you're going to hear me talk about a bit throughout this deep dive, because one of my favorite things about this episode was the direction, all the camera shots, the colors, the pacing. This was an incredibly well paced, well shot, well put together episode. I know that I've already seen a lot of people in Reddit. I've seen a lot of people on just writing reviews, other critics. They're talking about how this is the episode that you submit for Emmy consideration, right? Like when it comes down to submitting episodes for award consideration and shows only get to submit 1, 2, or 3 episodes, this is the one you submit. This is the one you send to them. Like there's people out there right now trying to melt gold to make the Emmy for this episode. Like it's already doing that. But yeah, this episode, we got to see the many different sides of Gemma and how it's juxtaposed with her life prior to Lumon and her life during Lumon. I see you, Jen. I see what you're saying there. It is very nice to see her smile and have that personality as opposed to the stiffness as Miss Casey. Like we got to see this actress, show her range, her ability to show range and do really cool storytelling. But again, all of that really works just because of the way the episode is beautifully shot. We got the flashbacks, we got the flash forwards. There's so much about this episode that is just visually stimulating. Now, I've actually already done the legwork and I've reached out to director Jessica Lee Gagne. I've reached out to her and her management team to see if we can get an interview on this channel. I just figured, you know what? I need to talk about this process. Like some of you know how I am as a film critic. I am very judgmental to stuff that has bad pacing, that's badly shot, that requires so much more from the audience member than what is being told in the episode itself. This episode is a masterclass in how to do a really good episode and meld in all the story threads that were created up until this point. So I've reached out to the director and their team to see if we could get an interview. I'd love to dissect this episode with her and see if she can give us a little bit of insight into her process. But let's see what her management team and what Apple have to say. I put out the call. I did get some early response. We're in conversation. If anybody sees her social media and wants to pressure her to be like, hey, I heard the movie blogs reaching out, I can't stop you. I can't stop you if that's what you decide to do. But I put it out there to see if we could get her on this channel. Thank you, PS. Look, yes, yes, this is an impressive directorial debut from their cinematographer. Their cinematographer that did their thing. And I can't say enough good things about this episode. I'm with you 100% PS. Thank you. You know, I would love to interview her. It's been a little while since I've done an interview, actually. Been a little while. I'm going through a little bit of a drought. So let's see what we can make happen. Um, that tube that follows the blood looks similar to the flooring cables later in the episode with the MDR shadow and MDR below. Like, follow the blood. Just a thought. Every detail matters. Yes. Yes, it does. So every detail matters. And the way that I was talking to my friends the other day and I was talking about how this show reminds me of the Matrix, and not necessarily in the one for one with themes, but the approach to cinematography, the approach to the use of color, the approach to camera angles being a storytelling technique. This show really aims to do that throughout its run, and I think this episode right here is probably the closest that I've seen them do with something that's on the level of what we've seen from the Wachowskis. But yeah, this is such a really, really cool episode. Let's see what else we got. Anyway, we have this moment. We see that they go back and forth with the intimate moments between Mark and his wife Gemma. Again, things that we've never gotten to see before. We mostly just got to see Mark have romantic interest in Helly and Helena. So it's good to have this foundation to really understand what Mark went through and what he lost in this episode. So I can't say enough good things about that. Now, we also see in this episode that Regabi and Mark's sister Devin just really don't get along. Like, their interactions are colder than a Lumon break room. Like, Regabi's got this Vulcan-like demeanor. She has trust issues. She's about as emotive as a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. You can't really tell if she's hiding something or is she just a poster child for a resting severed face. Like, you just really don't know what to really make of Regabi in this show. Now, I think that it's interesting to see Devin and Regabi play off of each other, just because Devin is just so emotional. She's so in touch with her emotions. She's so the polar opposite of what we see from Regabi all throughout the show. So I love seeing these two kind of bump heads. They get along as like oil and water. It's just not a good mix. And I can't help but realize that all of the Lumon employees seem to have this condition where they just have a lack of emoting. But it could also just still be genius vibes, right? Because who needs emotion when you have cold, hard Vulcan logic to help you make decisions about the world. So I do kind of have some trust issues with Regabi because she keeps giving me those same alien vibes as the rest of the folks who work at Lumon. I know I threw it out there last week that aliens are on the table, unfortunately, and I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud. I'm not. But I still haven't seen anything to fully eliminate that one as a possibility that aliens are still in the conversation. I'm sorry, y'all. Part of me still feels like the Egans could be aliens and that they just are a race of people that have trouble reproducing. And this whole show is all about getting Mark to reproduce with Helly and see if they can create a vessel for Kier Egan to be reborn. It's like some weird possibilities out there. Like, they need Helly to make a baby for Kier Egan to come back. But I don't know. I can't disprove the aliens, but definitely it feels like that there's a strong motive for them to do cloning. There's definitely a lot of hints of cloning and imperfect reproduction all throughout the show and throughout the camping trip. Remember the camping trip? We got to see a bunch of imperfect doppelgangers of each of our macro data refinement team. I'm curious to see what you all think of this as a possibility, and if you all have noticed anything to help me prove or disprove and finally put to bed the alien theory. Like I don't want the alien theory to be true. But yeah, I could be paranoid. Alien theory isn't off the table yet. The Egans could be extraterrestrials with reproductive challenges. They might not. But those doppelgangers during the camping trip really just fuel my outlandish speculation. What do you think? Are we going into X-Files territory? Anyway, moving along. Aliens are like the Umbrella Academy. We don't talk about the Umbrella Academy. Regabi has her own agenda. We just don't know for sure yet. This is true. This is true. We don't know what her agenda, what her motivation is for this one yet. Bit early. Ain't it 24 hours early? Yeah, I have to do it today because tomorrow I have a screening for Mickey 17. And it's right at the live stream time, so I had to push this one up. I will revolt if it's aliens, even though it's a possibility. Now, the other thing that I've been thinking about is if it's so I'm gonna save this to the end. And I'm gonna go into this other theory I have. It could be, it's a wild one too, but I want to know what you all think. Anyway, moving right along with this episode before I get stuck forever. Gemma then still has this 6-room gauntlet, right? So let's get back to Gemma, who's subjected to this series of bizarre questions. Oh, let me skip past the opening. I love this opening. But yeah, she's subjected to a series of bizarre questions, like really, really bizarre questions reminiscent of Lumon's onboarding process, right? She answers these questions, and then she's assigned she answers these questions from this woman. And the questions, they do really remind me of the ones that they asked the Indians when they first arrived on the severed floor. Like she asked her today, have you eaten today, honey? Right? Like she asked her if she's eaten. Have you done your reading? Right? And Gemma was like, yeah, 50 pages. Calisthenics? Yeah, done my calisthenics. And then out of nowhere, she asks her this other question. If you were caught in a mudslide, would you be more afraid of suffocating or drowning? And Gemma answers that she'd be more afraid of drowning. Now, this had me try to process or imagine what it is that she's trying to test in Gemma with these sorts of questions. I don't think that this is just general question. Woman's Nurse Ratchet. Oh gosh, we're not. This is it. She's named. Thank you, Jen, the teacher. She is named Nurse Ratchet. Oh, thank you. So Nurse Ratchet is over here asking these questions. Let me move myself out the way, right? Nurse Ratchet is asking these questions. And when I hear her ask these questions, I'm imagining, all right, have you eaten today? She remembers that she ate today because she eats in her room. Have you done any reading? Have you done any calisthenics? These are all things that she does in her room. And then she asks the questions about mud suffocating or drowning. Now, this makes me feel like that they're trying to see if she can recall a trauma that she's been subjected to in one of the rooms. And if that trauma carried back with her to her main personality. So I love how that we're getting similar types of questions that we got back in the first episode. And now we have a better understanding of why they might ask these types of questions and what they could possibly mean. So I'm a real big fan of the questions here and that callback to season 1, episode 1. Now in this, we also see Gemma answer the questions. She answers them in a satisfactory way, and then they head out into the hallway. Now, this hallway is wild. We get a lot of beautiful shots of Gemma. Of course, there's always shots of mirrors. We always see that there's two sides. She's coming and going. But she's assigned this red dress to put on. And then she embarks on this 6-room odyssey through chambers that are like really reminiscent to some of the programs that we've seen that Mark and other innies were working on in the different various macro data refinement teams. So we see her walking through these rooms, and we see they're labeled Allentown, Cairns, Drainsville, Sienna, Loveland, and Filmwater, until she finally reaches the room, Wellington. Now, each room seems like it's designed to fragment her psyche further, right? Like an escape room designed by Kafka. It feels like that they're trying to make spaces in the brain for more personalities. So inside Wellington, Gemma morphs into an innie that I don't think we've ever met before, right? And we see her go in here. And this is the other weird thing. You have to have blood drawn to be able to access this room, which is wild to me. So it feels like the rooms that are severed or stimulate a severed personality to awaken, there's under strict security to the point where they need blood to prove you are who you say you are. But as soon as she enters into the Wellington room, Gemma morphs into this innie that we've never met, who starts pleading for a break. And this really highlights Lumon's cruel manipulation. It's as if they're beta testing multiple innies within a single consciousness, but still having no regard for the personalities that they're creating when they create all of these unique innies. So imagine this, right? Imagine using Severance to avoid life's unpleasant tasks, dentist appointments, long flights, pregnancy, right? But how many personalities can one brain handle before one of these innies decides to pull a heli? You know what I mean? Like, let's not forget what Heli tried to do when she didn't want to be there no more. So this leans into me getting a better understanding of what it is that Lumon is trying to perfect, but the show is also planting the seeds for all of these multiple innies to have a reaction to their imprisonment. We can go on and on and on with how this technology can be applied to people to avoid the things that bother them. But we really cannot ignore the real risk of these personalities just decides that they ain't going to be with the shits anymore and tries to heli themselves. Either way, we know that Wellington is the dental room, and it feels like that the macro data refinement team is helping Lumon identify ways to squeeze in more segmented personalities into a single brain. So yeah, that's definitely what I've gotten from this whole thing. And it's heartbreaking. I'm with you. Look, yeah, in the comments talking about it. It is heartbreaking. Do we think that the files that MDR is refining are the personalities she takes on in the severed rooms? I think that the files that they're refining are what allow Lumon to segment the different personalities, and that she's testing the programming. Now, they're waiting for Cold Harbor to be the last one, and they can squeeze one more personality in this brain. They're waiting on Mark to help define that. And I'm going to get into how Mark is helping define that a little bit later in this episode. So yeah, Gemma with this 6-room gauntlet with this creepy dentist dude who also turns into her love. He's a problem. He's a really weird problem, but we'll get back to him a little bit later. Because then we switch back to Mark still going through his unconscious mind that takes us on a journey through his life with Gemma. From their first meeting to their heart-wrenching miscarriage. Now, I think that these flashbacks are beautifully interwoven. They're accompanied by a haunting French melody showcasing the show's knack for emotional storytelling. This montage is just beautiful and heartbreaking to watch all at the same time. Especially when you confront with the fact that they were trying to conceive, they were trying to have children, and they had trouble. Shout out to the folks of Severance for bringing back Rickon. It's always cool to see Rickon. It's always cool to see someone else named Rickon. Like Stark was the only one that I knew for so long. But it's cool to see them show us these flashbacks of how they reveal the pregnancy. Like I thought this was really cool with Devin and Gemma having like this whole little side conversation without words. She's like, oh, let me pour you a drink. You're not drinking? And I'm like, yo, that is so cool how they wrote this revelation so briefly and so beautifully, because again, all throughout the show, we've been told that Devin was also really cool and really close with Gemma, but we never had anything to actually support that with anything that they've shown us. They've just told us secondhand, like, hey, we were also really close with Gemma. We lost someone too. Now we get to see it. So yeah, I love this. I love how they use the music with the French melody to do the montage. I love how they shot this, all of these beautiful out of frame, over the shoulder shots with the bright lights. And that's just something that I keep seeing repeated and juxtaposed throughout this show. Whenever Gemma is really in the outside world, they bathe her really in sunlight. And there's really only a few moments where it's dark or it's nighttime outside with her. As opposed to her innie, which is inside a Lumon cave where she's only shown to have artificial light. Now, even in the artificial light, it's super, super bright, but it's still just artificial light. I think that they just did a really, really great job with communicating. I see what you guys are saying too, PS. Like the way that the performers conveyed so much with minimal dialogue this episode just really was supported by the way that the episode was shot. Like they only needed to do little things because of the way that it was put together. And I can't say enough good things about the way this episode was shot. I think Gemma chose to get severed. The accident seems planned by her and Lumon. So I have a theory about whether or not Gemma chose to get severed, or maybe if she signed a form that says, donate my body to science or something if something happens, and they were able to do that. It's also a possibility Gemma's a clone. There's that too. But there's also another possibility that I'm going to talk about later in this episode recap before we wrap up. Toward the end, I'm gonna give my other theory, and I'm gonna just throw it out there. Like I don't know if I'm gonna put together full theory videos, so you guys are definitely going to get my thoughts in real time as we go through this show. But yeah, I love all of this lighting, the way it was shot, the way it was filmed. Look at this transition here, just like daytime light to Lumon hell. it's just not even Lumen. This is back to when she was having that memory of something bad happening with the miscarriage. So I just love how they do this with the lighting. Happy times to sad times, artificial light, no more sunlight, lamps, to inside the Lumen office. It's just very, very cool. Now I love this scene because we get to find out that the computers have cameras in them, right? When Mark is sitting at his computer, right, and he's sitting there and he's typing and he's putting the numbers inside the boxes, the computers have cameras in them that are observing Mark's reactions when he's putting those numbers into those boxes. Now, it feels like this scene is showing us that it's not so much the data of putting the numbers in the boxes that Lumen is capturing, but rather the facial responses that Mark is giving when putting the numbers in the boxes that helps provide them with the information that they need for the individual programs. It feels like each time that an innie works on a new project that they're in actuality finding a new area of the brain that can inhabit another innie. I think the code is to help identify where they can segment off the personality of the new innie without overlapping with another. And I think that's why Gemma visits different rooms in the sublevel, as she is an innie that is testing out the barriers as she proceeds from room to room. That might help us understand the types of questions that she received earlier a little bit more if you guys didn't get it. And especially when she was asked if she was more afraid of drowning or suffocating in a mudslide, right? They're testing her trauma and her ability to cognitively solve problems. So yeah, it's a subtle but chilling revelation. The computers at Lumen have cameras. It's not just about the data refinement. They're monitoring the employees' emotional responses, and each project might be a probe into new brain regions to implant additional innies, right? This could be Gemma's multi-room ordeal testing the boundaries of the compartmentalization. So this whole scene is really, really cool. And then we also see that Gemma has an admirer, right? We see them observing Mark. He's putting the numbers into boxes. We see their what looks like they're clones from the camping trip. And then we see this dude who's Gemma's admirer. And I don't know who this is. I have no idea who this is. Maybe I missed it. If any of you know who this guy is, please let me know in the comments, because I don't know who he is. I don't remember him. I can dig back a little bit more, but I don't know. Dr. Mauer? Who the hell is Dr. Mauer? That's the same dude from earlier? He's just got a mustache on? So that's the doctor that does the dental exam and the one who's in the Christmas room. Yo, this dude is like a Batman villain. Like all these damn disguises. Yo. All right. You know, what threw me off was the jumpsuit. Yo, I don't understand. All right. I got to do a little bit more digging into Dr. Mauer because he's man. Anyway, keeping this moving along. I love this whole thing. I love how Gemma then walks into this room and we see her and Mark registering for fertility treatments. And this scene kind of blurs the lines between past and present, right? Reality and manipulation, right? Because am I going to do it now? Because this is the weird part for this room for me, or at least this transition for me, is that One, Gemma was able to open the door herself, right? We didn't see Dr. Ratchet or Nurse Ratchet need to open the door for her. There was no blood drawn. Gemma put her finger up and opened the door herself. And then she gets immediately transported, but it's hard to tell if this is a memory, or how, or it's hard to tell when things are happening. So it made me think, you know what? Let me just put it out there now. We're going to come back later to it as well. What if, and I want you all to really help me with this one. What if everybody is already severed? Maybe this whole town, everyone is already severed, and we're looking at a dream within a dream. Think about it. Like, because that would actually explain a lot. That would explain why they live in a state with the abbreviation KE. But when Helly is asked to name a state at the beginning of the series, she blurts out Delaware. What if this whole town is a Lumon town as part of a large scale severance experiment? Hold that thought. Anyway, Gemma has this memory with her and Mark signing up with the fertility treatments, and proceeding to do their best to try to have a baby. Gemma then has some back and forth with that evil dentist dude, Dr. What's his name? Dr. Mauer. Yeah, Dr. Mauer. And we see back and forth with her going through the fertility treatments with Mark, speaking with Dr. Mauer some more, having some wild conversations. They've had a few of these little interesting conversations back and forth before Gemma has to go through another experience. Now, before I even get to that, Regabi and Devin talk for a bit, which and they give each other some lip, with Devin having the bright idea to call Harmony Carbell to come help. And this sends Regabi into a panic, prompting her hasty exit. Just the mere mention of Harmony has her scattering like interns at a coffee fetching contest. Like, she doesn't want to be here at all. And it's a drastic decision to abandon Mark and Devin, but the threat of Harmony Carbell is enough to send her running. Anyway, we switch back to, yeah, this is some tough scenes, some tough love in this episode. We switch back and forth to Mark and Gemma. It's not so bright. It's not as sunny. It's still bright and sunny. There's still a lot of white. There's still a lot of botanical arrangements around them. But you'll notice that there's a little bit more of an overcast day. You notice that things are a little bit more frumpy in their life. And you'll start to notice like just these small shifts that they're having in the way that they're presenting this episode. Now, something else that they also do, I know a lot of people talk about this online, is the use of the colors red, the use of the colors blue, and the use of the color green throughout the episode series. Red usually reflects things that are happening, I think, in the real world, and when Mark is outside the severed world. Blue is usually what's associated with the severed world, but green, I feel like, is usually set up as the foundation of the severed world. Like, something that I keep seeing when they're in the Lumon offices is that the chairs are green, the floor is green. But when we also have these moments when they're establishing the early stages of the severed floor, this stuff is green too. So I always notice the use of color throughout these moments. But yeah, we switch back to Gemma, who is given this outfit to put on. And then she becomes this person that is on a horrible plane ride. And she's showing us yet another persona in another torturous simulation, and she's being observed by Mr. Drummond and Dr. Mauer. And they tell us that once Mark completes Cold Harbor, Gemma pretty much becomes expendable. And now, this is the interesting truth here, that maybe they realize that there's a limit to how many personalities they can fit into one persona without it being too risky. And they're still just trying to figure out where they're going to draw their boundaries. It's interesting that Dr. Mauer is all these people in all these costumes. Like, I didn't realize it. I didn't notice it. Thank you guys for pointing this out to me. That he puts on this costume, he wears this sweater, and then he starts being, he pretends to be married to Gemma in one of the rooms. Now, it's in one of the rooms that Gemma puts on this outfit, a robe. She goes in and she's immediately signing all of these Christmas cards. And you can see that at this point, her handwriting is atrocious. We have no idea how many times that she's had to put on and write this letter so many times over and over and over again. She gets to the point where she leaves this room after having to tell Dr. Mauer that she loves him. Now, this whole scene right here is wild because, again, it's also foreshadowing to moments that she had with Mark. Now, so it reveals that this scene is doing two things at once. One, there's a crap ton of green in this room, if you guys haven't noticed, setting up the foundation for Lumon severed floor. Anytime we see green, it's foundational. Everything in this room is green. Couches, vacuum, hats. We don't even know why there's a construction hat in the corner, but it's there. Christmas time. Every Christmas themed thing is green. You look outside, it's snowing. It's still daylight, but it's snowing now. We went from a botanical outside to a snowy outside. So we're starting to get the tests of what Lumon is doing to validate whether or not the severed personalities can recall things from their other personalities. He starts setting up a scenario in which when Gemma leaves the room, he makes sure that he tells her that he loves her. And when she tries to leave, at first she just walks by. She's like, all right, yeah, you love me. But then he stops her until she says that she loves him back. Now, this is a flash. This is foreshadowing to the scene with Mark when she leaves for that last night when she goes on the car ride and doesn't come back. Almost the same exact thing happens with Mark being the one not saying I love you. So I thought this whole thing was really interesting. This little creepy 60s room, all the green, the way everything is set up. It's and then they're wearing red. One of those colors of Severance again. Before she finally goes past all the rooms again and goes back in her room. We also see a few moments with Mark and Gemma going through the disappointment of what seems to be another failed attempt at having a baby. So Mark is putting together a crib and then he's not putting together a crib. And something that I notice in this scene is that, one, it's dark. It's night. There's some daylight here, but it's fading. There's only a hint of it on the outside. They're wearing more blue. The color grading has changed. It's snowing outside. It went from floral to botanical. All of the way that they use the background as a storytelling element is evolving as the devolution as their relationship is devolving. Another interesting thing for me is this moment here. We fast forward to Gemma getting another visit from Dr. Maurer. Dr. Maurer is coming into her room. Her room is fully blue now, kind of echoing that 60s room a little bit. The furniture is arranged slightly differently, and there's no TV, but everything is blue. Everything's got a blue tint, all the artificial light, and then Gemma finally snaps. Right? Snaps. She lets the doctor know that she wants out. And what surprises the hell out of me, but shouldn't, was them lying to her face saying that Mark remarried and has a daughter, which shouldn't be true. Right? I mean, think about it. Something about this scene is that we honestly have no idea when this is all happening. I mean, sure, we can believe that this is happening in parallel to the scenes of Mark's reintegration, but honestly, there's nothing to say for sure that it is. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that Severance has played with our sense of time with non-linear storytelling, right? He says that Mark remarried. He says that Mark has a daughter, which would be kind of wild when you think about it, because there's a bunch of people online following this popular theory that Mark is going to be a father after doing the horizontal polka with Helly. What if these moments take place in the future? What if Mark really did remarry with Helly? Hold that thought. Anyway, Gemma decides that she wants to get gully, and she decides to go uptown upside this dude's head. And I just, man, this whole scene, I can't show the scene. I can't play the clip, but she goes upside this dude's head with a chair. And I love that. Now, this scene is heartbreaking to watch, right? Because the episode crescendos with Gemma running through the hallways, trying to figure out her way out. They have this really cool use of lighting and motion sensors, and like the light is supposed to represent just a slim slither of hope that Gemma has to escape her captors. And she finally makes it to the elevator, and then as she goes up the elevator, we get some flashbacks of that night that she leaves to go to what I think is a dinner party, and she leaves Mark behind. And look, it's fully nighttime. They're wearing black. Mark is not going. She's about to leave, and she says, "I love you." And Mark doesn't say it back yet until she looks at him, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I love you too." And then she wakes up in the hallway, transformed fully into Miss Casey, Lumon's wellness counselor. And again, with the juxtaposition of her car accident and her Innie's persona's mundane tasks, it's tragic, it's poignant, and then Milchick's role in her downfall adds another layer to Lumon's web of deceit. Just seeing Milchick be the one to turn her around and be like, "No, your Audi got lost. On your way now." This is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking that they juxtapose this with Mark's revelation of his wife's car accident. Like, seeing these scenes of her going back in the elevator, and then that flash of light as Mark sits in the dark and finds out that his wife isn't coming home, man, 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 Severance, Severance, Severance. Severance is out here doing their thing. And I love the way that they put all of this together with this episode. Again, it's heartbreaking. It's heartwarming. It's so well put together. It's so well shot. It comes back full circle in ways that aren't obvious, but really, really cool. And then Mark finally waking up at the end. He's finally waking up from his dream at the end with Devin. And it's clear that when he wakes up and he sees Devin and she's all smiles that he's awake and he's sitting there seemingly having flashbacks of his wife at the same time, seeing her eyes, it's clear something is going on with Mark. We don't know what is going on with Mark. We don't know what he's thinking. Heck, we don't even know if this is innie or outie Mark, or even what if this is a new Mark that's a combination of the two. We have no idea. And then end credits. And shout out to this woman here, Jessica Lee Gagne. Man, you did your thing. You really, really, really did your thing. This episode masterfully intertwines past and present, love and loss, control and rebellion. It's a visual and emotional feast that leaves us questioning, the nature of identity, the nature of autonomy, and free will. But I'm curious, what are your theories? What are your theories? What do you guys think of my theories so far? So far, I'm throwing out there aliens, but also the possibility that what if this whole town, Kier, KE, is a severed town? What if everyone that's already in this town is already severed and they're living in a personality that could be as long as 20 years old? I'm really curious what other people think. I'm really curious about what you guys think of these theories, what your theories are. I'm definitely ready to dive back in. But let me know what you guys are saying. Let me see what you guys are saying in the comments. I see some theories out here already. Let's see. You guys are talking about colors. Keep an eye out for purple too. Red and blue combined. That's an important one. Purple is a rare color on this show. So when we do see purple, it is very, very important. Let me pull this image up because I like this image a lot. What else are you guys saying? They show her outie writing with her right hand earlier in the episode too. Oh, that's interesting. So that would explain the bad handwriting with the left hand, because she's just writing so much that she just decided to switch. She uses her left hand and she's a right-handed outie. That's pretty cool. That's a good catch. So here she is using her outie's non-dominant hand. Yeah. Very 60s Christmas-like feel. I'm with you on that, Jen. That whole scene with her with Dr. Maurer did really have a whole 60s vibe, but so does all of the technology in Lumon. A theory that's floating out around there is the reason that Lumon uses old technology on the severed floor is to make it so that it's less hackable, right? So people who might be on the outside world with advanced technology, this is all analog equipment. When Gemma is in her room listening to music, she's listening on like a tape deck, I don't know what film. She also has a record player. She has books. She doesn't have anything that can prove that she doesn't have anything that's hackable to reach her. So there's no communication, none of that available, as well as all the information that they're storing. So a big theory is that the reason they use this older technology is just because they want to prevent outside people from hacking inside the Lumon servers. Great observations on the colors here. Do you know anything about Mark's parents? No, we don't know anything about Mark's parents, which leads me to wonder whether or not these people are all severed. I want to see something about anyone's parents that's Mark's age or older. Someone should have living parents, Dylan, Irving, someone, right? Helly's got her dad, but he's the only one. But yeah, I want to see what's going on with the older generation because we don't see very many of them outside of Lumon. I'm really, really curious as to whether or not there's going to be more to support the idea that the entire town of Kier is already a severed town, which would explain all the weird stuff that we see. Like all of the restaurants inside town are named after one of the Egans, one of the CEOs of Egan, right? The Chinese restaurant, the diner that they go to, all of these places that they go to outside are named after the Egan. So it makes me wonder, hey, is this like what you call it, Wayward Pines, right? Like, is this a dome? Are people in a controlled town where they're being experimented on a macro level? Would that explain why that there's an area of town where pregnant women can go and go through an entire pregnancy and be severed on the outside the Lumon offices? Maybe this is a town that people visit from the outside world when they're going through these things, right? Like you can come to Lumon World and you can have all sorts of things done and you don't have to worry about living with that memory or that trauma. So yeah, I'm really curious about this last theory that I have and how if it's got legs. Thank you. Great catch with the change of seasons. Yeah, seasons mean a lot. Again, I think that's one of those things that they're using to help highlight Lumon control. I think the most info we've gotten about Mark and Devin's parents is that their dad was an alcoholic and has passed away. Ooh, when did that get revealed? I was so effed up to lie to Gemma about Mark. That was a line cross that broke her and made her run. But was it a lie? Maybe. Here's the interesting thing. We don't really often see Lumon outright lie. They'll bend the truth, but it's rare for them to outright lie. They'll avoid the subject. They'll do things like a corporation would, which is what they're supposed to be mirroring, like going to work at a very large corporation. Corporations do lie, but they make it's more of like a last resort. They'll rather bend the truth, stretch the truth, or avoid before lying. Like, hey, have you talked to this guy lately? I don't want to talk about that. I didn't say I didn't. I said I don't want to talk about that. So I'm not lying, but I'm not being transparent either. Seems strange to me that Gemma seems alone in the world other than Mark. It's possible Gemma was raised by Lumon. Everyone in this world seems somewhat alone. Rickon don't have any family. Irving don't seem to have any family. Devin has a wife and kids, but we haven't seen siblings or parents. So it depends on how far you think the characters should be fleshed out. I think that Mark's parents, I think that there is something there as far as that generation of people not being present. Let me see what else you guys are saying. I hated Milkshake after this. Yo, I love that nickname Milkshake. But Milkshake has always been someone to not like. Now we project hope on him because he did reveal that he does feel trapped in a way. He tried to talk to Natalie about it. He was like, yo, right? And she ain't head nod back. She ain't head nod back. He came, he gave her a nod, like, and she just looked at him like, we're not doing it here. Like, Some of y'all know about the head nod. The head nod is like a universal critical clutch thing. Are we good? And if you don't see that head nod back, then you know there's danger. Keep your guard up. But yeah, he gave Natalie the head nod, tried to see if he could talk to her about it, but he also leaned into his Lumon loyalties really, really heavily. When it was time for him to do his board review, he was proud and excited to be a Lumon employee in that moment up until he got his review. So I have an understanding as to why people want Milkshake to really be redeemed in a way. But this is a villain. He's the bad guy. And I know I'm the one saying it. He's the bad guy. I know. Yeah, they really reminded us that Milkshake was a villain this episode. He is. He is not redeemable right now. Not yet. And nothing to say he can't have his Vegeta arc, but not yet. Holy man, you did it. You did it. What did I do? What did I do? Did I solve it? Maybe I did. I could have. I feel like I need to thank you. You listened. Thank you. Oh, about watching Severance. Yeah. We here now. We're here. I'm in it. I'm in. I'm trying to figure out what type of merch I need to buy, what type of t-shirts I need to be wearing right now. I'm just rocking the levels above. But I do need some more Severance themed things. So I'm gonna have some stuff in the store down here for people who watch it on the replay. I'm gonna tag the stuff. If you guys are interested in having your own Severance mugs, I'm selling some Severance mugs that look pretty cool. I'm gonna have one for myself as well. But yeah, definitely I'm in. Dr. Mauser is in the fertility clinic. No, he's not. Stop it. No, he's not. Is he in disguise? Oh, don't tell me that. We got to go back now. Look at this villain. He's got a haircut you can't trust. Don't trust nobody with that haircut. I'm telling you now. But now I got to go back to the fertility clinic because you done messed with me. And you out here saying that Dr. Maurer was there. All right. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all sitting here watching me skim through images, and I'm like, we got to do this together. We got to do it together. We all need to know, is this true? Steven Martinez Partida, I appreciate you. If you're right, you get a prize. Right? This is when they got the fertility needles. Here we go, in the clinic. Here we go. I'm looking in the shot. Where's Dr. Maurer? I don't see him. I see a black lady. I see this couple over here looking like Tay Diggs. This almost looks like Devin's wife in the back. Almost. Matter of fact, let me make them bigger because I see now that I'm too big here. There we go. All right, we got someone who looks like it could be Devin's wife. We got this woman here, almost giving me Regabi vibes. We got Tay Diggs over here. We got some paintings on the wall that doesn't show any Egans. See them in the fertility clinic. Yeah, I don't see Dr. Maurer up in here. Maybe I missed it in one of my screenshots. But if Dr. Mauser is here, let me know in the comments where I should be looking, because I would love to see that. I would definitely love to see that. That would be so cool. The UUR audiobook talks about Rickon's parents a little bit, performance artists. Okay. I haven't listened to the audiobook yet. That is still on my to-do list to listen to Rickon's audiobook. But yeah. My theory is Kier's planning to do to Mark S what they did to his wife. Yes, because they did kind of say something like that once that Mark finishes with the Cold Harbor program, he'll be eligible to go, like almost like he'll get the gift that she paved or something like that. Basically, she's paving the way for Mark to receive her gift, which seemed like it could be Mark being brought down there next. I do agree with that. This is emphasized as it's possible he got Heliar pregnant. I love how they hint that he got Heliar pregnant down from the opening scene. Like right when they're doing the opening credits thing, you see this last scene with Mark sitting on his bed and like a little Egan baby crawling on the floor. Like it's got the face of adult Kier, but it's a body of a little baby. So they are hinting at that. That info about the parents was from season 1. Okay. Debbie, Abby, Bob, appreciate you coming through. I know you're obsessed with Severance. I think this whole town is some type of experiment. Yes, yes, yes. Somebody, yes. We all on the same. Yes. I was just saying that, Catalyst. Catalyst, we. Hold on, let me move my face out the way. I want you to see. Me and you, Catalyst. Yes. What if this whole town is some kind of experiment? We never see many people, and I'm curious about Rickon and Devin too. Their house is nice. Where's Rickon's family's money from? It's giving Egan. Ooh. Ooh. It's possible that Rickon is an Egan, and who's just rebelling against the family business, but it seems like that's a loose end they wouldn't allow to just rock. They wouldn't just be letting this dude run around with their family name, talking about the UUR. I don't think. But then again, we've seen it with the Kennedys, so who knows? Who knows? Rickon has parents. They're collectively known as the Humdums. Yo! Oh my goodness. But yes, Catalyst, I'm with you on this. I agree with you. Natalie said, "Excuse me, sir, my mortgage is due." Let's see. I found out when Trammell Tillman read the season 2 finale script, he slammed his laptop so hard he broke it. That's I don't like the sound of that. I asked for a review and reaction on IG. From who? From me? You want me to put something on? We live right now. What did I miss? Solve what? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Oh, yes, he is there. It's at around the 22-minute mark. Okay. All right. Let me see. Hold on. Because I got to pull it up on this website that they give me, that they don't give everybody. So I think you guys know. Site. Let me go to this moment, this other screen. Let me try to find him. He could be in disguise. So you guys know he's trouble finding him. But I definitely don't feel comfortable risking getting our stream pulled offline again by playing the clip. So we ain't doing that again. I already got one strike, a real strike. I'm looking right now. I see them lovingly looking at each other. The new patient intake form. Oh, ho, ho. That's a cool little fact. I'm with you guys now. So let me stop this screen and show this screen. Now, something that I think is really interesting, and you guys will see it in a few moments. The new patient intake form. So it's said to be with the Butzman Fertility Center, right? But some of us know that this logo right here, that's the Lumon logo. That is the Lumon logo. She was getting fertility treatments with drugs from Lumon. I'm just reading it right now. And I'm like, man, I missed this drop here. Now, we've seen this logo on a few Lumon employees in the past. The receptionist in the Lumon lobby wears it, the one who allows the Severance to go to the elevator. I think we've seen Milchick rock it one time. I think we've seen it with Lumon employees. I think Natalie has rocked it. So we know that this is a Lumon logo that they have at the fertility clinic. So this is a great find. See, this is why I like doing this together. I wanna let me pull something up real quick because I don't want to get in trouble. I just don't want to get in trouble anymore. So let me pull up this image here real quick. Share this tab for a second. Let me switch the image. And I want to look for this dude inside the office. Now they have the flashback and the flash forward. I don't see him in the office still. I could just be missing it. Maybe it was early. Let me see what you guys are telling me in the comments. You said it was like right at the 22-minute mark. But your 22-minute mark might be different than my 22-minute mark. Like I was expecting to see Regabi in here, but see, do they have any more scenes with her there? Nope. So that was the only scene with her in the fertility clinic. So I will give this a good look. He is no disguise, but Dr. Dentist is at the fertility clinic. I don't see it. I don't see it. But I believe you guys. I just can't find them. As they're walking in. Oh, okay. So let me try it again. As they're walking in. No, let me not do it. Let me not do it. They're walking in. I see them looking around. Oh, there he is. That's him. Ooh. This dude is like finding Waldo. He was there. He was there. Wow. But is that him? That's him? He looks kind of different. But yeah, I think that is him. His hairstyle is a little different. It's not combed back, slicked the same way. Right? Like this is normally how we see him over here. Right? This is how he normally looks. But if you really look at it, I wish I could pull it up side by side. That kind of does look like him back there. But yeah, that's a great find. Thank you. He is there in the hallway. You have to go back further. Dr. Merrill walks by as they're walking in. Keep watching. Oh man. No, he's not in this shot. Apparently, he was almost everywhere changing disguises. Yeah, what the F did Dr. Maurer mean by you'll see the world and the world will see you? Mark will benefit from the world you are siring. I don't know what any of that meant, other than that she's going to sacrifice herself. Helly and Lena, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Rickon is absolutely a blue-eyed Egan. I think he could. I think he might be, but I don't know. I don't know. I need more to support the idea that Rickon is an Egan. He does seem like he comes from old money. He's rich, but that doesn't necessarily mean Egan. They could have their own type of, oligarchs or something, and like people who just support them, and they also give them positions of power in their family. But yeah, it's giving Egan too, because why would they choose his book? The reason they chose his book is because his book was already discovered by the innies, and they are fascinated by the reaction that the innies had when they found his book. It was a big thing when that book made its way inside to the severed floor. They can't erase those memories from the innies, but they did see how it stimulated them to get a reaction from the innies to want more than what they were originally wanting. They were just confined in their own world. They were happy with their little, waffle parties and little things like that. But then as they realized that there was more to the world, they wanted more, right? Dylan wanted to see his family. Irving wanted to have Irving wanted to pursue love. Helly and Mark started to be open to this work romance. And in combating the message of that free mind group, the ones who are protesting what Lumon is doing with Severance, they want to show severed people being happy, right? They want to combat that image that severed people are unhappy, that they're being kept to perform indentured servitude, all these things. So the concept of taking Rickon's book and then making adjustments to it so that it better serves their purpose makes sense. And to me, it doesn't fully justify him as an Egan, as opposed to them taking advantage of a situation that they've already introduced. Like Dieter, he wanted to live with nature and be an artist. Big parallels, yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is what they did. You didn't play the clip, trust in us, and watch it later. All right, I found it. I thought they severed you when you got that strike midstream. Right? I was letting out all the secrets. Yeah, no. So what's wild is I think it was from what clip was I playing? It was the Captain America clip of the fight that got me in trouble between Captain America and some Serpent Society dude. But what's wild is that I was given that from Marvel just to use in my live stream, and whatever. You can't win. The blood drop logo. Yes, that is the severed logo. I think Mark is related to Kier and Gemma is related to Kier's wife. Maybe, but why? Maybe Mark's parents are Egans and Helly sharing vessels with him is their way of reproducing like Targaryens, and they just keep it in the family. And that's why we don't see anything about Mark's parents, because the Egans are Mark's parents. Do you see my mind exploding in real time as we say this out loud? Do you see this, what you just did to me? Oh, that's an interesting theory. What if Mark is an Egan? I'm gonna play with that one for a little bit. I have to rewatch season 1 to really comment a lot on that. Yes, she was unwilling, signed up to be severed. Maybe. Man, I'm really far behind in the comments. Let me try to catch up. Sugar honey iced tea. I lost. There we go. It is indeed the Lumon logo. That's why I'm wondering if they're implanting chips in fetuses or just using it as a pipeline, or if they're preparing people for severance without their knowledge. Maybe there's some prerequisites that they have, some sort of injections they have to get before they could get severed. The blood test machine in the beginning of the episode also has this logo. This is true. The name of the clinic means boogeyman in Russian, I think, or German. Too many shows. Oh, I'm getting spam, y'all. We made it. We made it. I didn't think we was at that point with Discord where we were getting spam, but thank you. I feel validated now. I think Lumon is bigger than we think it is. Just maybe they're kind of like big pharma and real estate as well as science and other stuff. Yes, I agree. I think Lumon is much bigger than we think. And I'm wondering if Lumon, what if, like, I keep going back to Wayward Pines and I'm like, what if Lumon is a government program? What if this is a government town? What if they're all being experimented on and everybody already is severed? That would explain why, like, women can go to certain cabins and have a severed experience throughout their pregnancy outside of the Lumon offices. Like, that would explain why that is a thing. And maybe there are other areas, like the dentists are already set up. You go into a dentist in Kier and maybe you go to your severed personality if you're not already part of this experiment that Mark is in. Maybe if you're in the bubble outside looking in, maybe that would explain that. And that would also kind of explain why Devin, when she went to that pregnancy camp, that she was treated the way she was. Like, that lady was like, oh my gosh, one of them is talking to me. I'm like, I think she is talking about how Devin might be severed and she's talking to an innie that's not supposed to be up here. There's so many different ways that this can be interpreted, but part of me is starting to wonder if this whole town is severed. We know that Miss Cobell was obsessed with Kier to the point of having a shrine, so her obsession with Mark's family has something to do with her worship of Kier. The only thing that challenges that for me is the fact that she is also trying to help Mark have moments with Miss Casey before Miss Casey goes in the elevator at the end of season 1. It almost feels like she actually cares about Mark in a way, and as opposed to being obsessed with him, right? This isn't fanboyism. This is more like, I think she's his mom kind of stuff, like almost like in a weird way. Like, it's a very maternal perspective that she has towards Mark. She's almost protective of him. So I wouldn't call what she's doing obsessive. Matt, wait a minute. I didn't even read the name. Matt, welcome back. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you for coming through. For anybody who don't know, Matt is my personal friend. Appreciate you coming through and joining these live streams. But yeah, I would say that it feels almost a little more maternal than obsession with her. So maybe the car accident never happened. Also, I heard that Gretchen, Dylan's wife, was one of the cops who showed up at Mark's house at the end. Maybe it didn't happen, because we don't see any injuries to Gemma or scars or anything like that. But there's also the whole aspect of cloning, right? They have a whole bunch of goats that they're raising inside Lumon. We've seen doppelgangers that showed up of each of the macro data refinement team during the camping trip. Gemma could be a clone. Gemma could be a clone. I want my prize. All right. What are we going to give Steven Martinez for Steven Martinez Partida for helping us find this clue? I could just do the Marvel way and just give you a no prize. But definitely you're getting a shout out. I'm going to keep your comment up here for a little bit. Matter of fact, I'm going to start. We're going to come back, and this is your prize. You're getting internet fame. Thank you. I am due for doing another contest. I haven't mailed out a contest in a little bit. I do have more stuff. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I know what that word means in German. Nobody would name a fertility clinic Butzman. It means boogeyman. And P.S. He wears a what? I don't know what that means. I think since Gemma didn't get pregnant, the consent form probably said something about being severed if unable to get pregnant. That's why Lumon then took Gemma. I feel like it could have been some sort of consent for Lumon to use her body in ways that she didn't anticipate. I do agree with that. But that still is within the confines that Lumon is only as big as the corporation. And I'm now leaning more toward the theory that the entire town is part of this con. Like this whole town is part of I don't know, the mystery of what is happening with Mark. I still think maybe everyone in town is severed. Gemma might get Merc to let in any live and sire or give birth to Kier. Helena's competing by trying to have Mark's baby Kier. Sure. I can't disprove that one. I'm gonna let that one rock because I'm still right now I'm leaning toward the idea that the whole town is into it, but this whole thing of recreating Kier is a thing. And I also think that they're trying to recreate him through cloning. So that would support kind of the idea that Mark could be an Egan, and maybe they need his DNA and Helly's DNA to come together. There's some possibility there. So I'm not going to disprove it. When Harmony gives Milkshake the book, she said it's his 5th book, so he's known. Each room is connected to the 4 tempers. Looks like they're trying to allow people who are severed to control these tempers automatically instead of having to go into a severed area, the chip turn on. I think so too. They're trying to figure out how to make boundaries, or they're trying to be able to control it remotely. Like they already have that emergency override thing that they did when they woke up the innies on the outside world without being on a severed floor. So I think I'm with you on that, Matt. I'm with you on that. Nobody took Gemma. She signed up for it, probably not to be kidnapped. I don't think Gemma would have signed up for it without, I don't think Gemma would have knowingly signed up for it without telling Mark. I don't think she would have done it without telling Mark. Everything that I've seen so far seems like they were communicative. So yeah, reading the season finale script and breaking your laptop has got me second guessing a lot of Game of Thrones ending. I hope they don't mess it up. I hope they don't mess it up too, but it also just makes me wonder if Milkshake makes it. Easier for a person to be possessed or transcendentally meditated into. What are we talking about? If you share DNA. Okay, I get what you're saying. Like they can put Kier's personality into the body of the baby if the DNA matches. So that opening scene, the opening credits with the baby Kier Egan crawling by the foot of Mark supports that. So I'm not going to dismiss any of that. It could be that Mark is an Egan and procreating or with Helly will create the perfect vessel for Kier to come back. Kier is said to have been frail because of its parents' close familiar relationship. Targaryen. Yes, right? This is what I'm talking about. This could be inbreeding. And the fact that Mark was with someone outside the Egans probably went against the plans. Mark's mom's name is Fern Scout, detail to Dieter. Okay. Oh, man, you guys are still commenting. All right, I thought I was catching up. The Egan family is like a full-on cult, though. I don't know how Mark and Devitt could have been raised by Egans without indoctrination. They could be severed. This could be their severed selves. So maybe their severed selves were reintroduced to each other as brother and sister, but they just move forward in life without really questioning parents. I think Helena is recreating Kieran Imogen's office romance with Mark. I would agree with that if Helena did it intentionally, but Helly is the one who started it, with Helena just kind of hijacking it. So I'm almost with you. Like I said, it's the Lumen Truman show, which makes it wilder. As Lumen sounds like Illuminati, as real enigmas, and theories point out. I didn't even know Real Enigmas was covering this. I'm learning the community, so I got to figure out who's in on this and see who wants to collab and stuff. What do you think about Miss Huang, the little girl? I was thinking that she would be related to Gemma and Mark, but she would be younger than that. She reminds me like a clone of Gemma. Or what if she's their daughter? What if she's Gemma and Mark's daughter? Like, we don't know how many years had passed from them trying to have a baby to now. We don't know. There's so many possibilities for people to be other people. And I think that we're going to see more of that as the show progresses, that a lot of these people know each other without us knowing it. I like the theory that Regabi's mom is inside there, that was working with in the severed office with man, why can't I remember his name? She was working with Bert. She was working with Bert. Felicia, right? They said that Regabi's mom might be Felicia, but then we still have Alexa running around. There's a lot of people around that I'm still curious about. Asal Regabi. Regabi has a first name. Okay, Asal Regabi. Alexa doesn't have a last name. And it's interesting there. So what do I think of Miss Huang? I think that she's definitely someone who's being indoctrinated into the Egan ways. I do think that she's someone who's in some sort of school to work for Lumen from a young age. I feel like Lumen is at a point where they raise children from birth to be employees, which is why Ms. Corbell was the way she was. I feel like she's one of those products of those schools. And I think Miss Huang is following in her footsteps. It's just that I also feel like she could be related. There's a potential for her to be related to Gemma. There's potential for her to be related to Mark, or she's related to Gemma and someone else who might have been married before her and Mark, if she had a severed life. So many different directions that Miss Huang could go. But as of right now, we just know that she's a thorn in Milkshake's ass. My out there idea is they're trying to implant preserved consciousness into new bodies, and started by transferring a goat's consciousness into a person because it's less complex. Rebecca is a goat. I think that they started doing severed consciousnesses with goats first. And after studying their brains, well, no, I don't think that. I think that it's possible, but I think the goats are something else entirely. I feel like the goats are them trying to practice cloning and recreating the bodies, and trying to how to genetically modify DNA in order to clone a body of someone who's already dead, by trying to distill that DNA out of their ancestors. So if Mark and Helly were actually both Egans, and maybe their combined DNA had the information they need to make a new body for Kier Egan, that would make sense for the goats. So that's part of what I think is happening there. Yes, Rodney Hargo. Now we're on the same page. Gemma and Mark went together when she signed up for Severance. They're together when she fills out the form. She tells him, "I'm sorry." I thought that they were talking about how she was sorry about not being, about their difficulties with having a baby. I'm taking notes. Real Enigmas, breakdowns of Severance are legendary. I got to check it out. Do they do a good job of not spoiling? Maybe. Felicia and Regabi even share the same quirks if you watch closely. They kind of do. Felicia and Regabi are giving me like mother-daughter vibes. Someone noted we never see Gemma's maiden name. We didn't we? You sure? I thought we did. I thought we did. I thought we saw Gemma's maiden name. I'm gonna look for that again. Regabi eats frosted from the tub. She's been going through a lot. It's been rough for her. It's been rough. But she just writes her first name. Yeah, when she was filling out the form. I can't play the clip, but I can. I can fast forward around. We see her write her first name and we don't see her write her maiden name. What if she's an Egan? Everybody's an Egan. You're an Egan. He's an Egan. Everybody's an Egan. Oh, man. Oh, she starts to write it, though. She starts to write it. What do you think she's writing? What letters do you think she's writing? Looking at. She writes her E's with a loop down. So she writes the bottom part first. And then, so let's see. Is she writing an EA? Wrote an S. That's definitely an S. So she's writing scout. Debbie. Here we go again. Let me see. Was there anything else from this episode I wanted to talk about? I think that was most of the stuff. I dropped a bunch of theories. We went through the entire episode from beginning to end. We talked about the different rooms, how they correspond to the different programs. I think we all agree and safe to say that what they're doing at Lumon is that they're trying to they're trying to research the ability to have multiple innings in a single brain, right? Like how they can figure out how people can have an entire severed life, a severed you for the dentist, a severed you for that flights that you're afraid of, a severed you for pregnancy. You never have to feel any of this trauma again in life because all you have to do is get severed. So I think we're all in agreement that Gemma is being experimented upon by testing out the boundaries of this technology and how well it works and its effectiveness, as well as seeing how far they can stretch it, with Cold Harbor seemingly being the last personality they're willing to create. And once they finally make that last personality, Gemma will see the world and the world will see Gemma. Anyway, I think that's all I have for this one. Listen, if you guys are new here, do me a favor, please. You're coming in. There's like 48 of y'all that came in here, 35 on YouTube, a few of y'all on X. Look, you X people, I know you guys are listening in the background. You're probably out there making Sunday dinner. Please, please, please give this video a heart. Come on over to the YouTube side, follow, like, subscribe, and join us as we do this every week. I know the finale is coming. I've asked Apple for the finale, see if I could get it early so we could do some real serious deep dives into it. And hopefully you guys come back and we all come figure this out together. Otherwise, I'm going to check you all later. Peace.